Hello again everyone, welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious, and today we'll be going over the variety of changes made to the Foraging update on the Alpha Network, and there is quite a lot here to go over. Before we begin though, I just want to say, please make sure to like and subscribe down below as it really helps out the channel a lot, and use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order if you want to further support the channel. Without any further ado though, let's get started. Starting off here today, we're going to be going over quite a few changes made to kind of smooth out the progression and alleviate some of the concerns regarding Kuudra. I don't agree with all of them, but I do think this is interesting to go over. Starting off though, we have Foraging. There are a few changes here. Notably, there are some collection changes and a new armor set. To begin with the collection changes, basically they just standardized everything and made it a little bit better. The jungle axe, which is now the spruce axe, has been moved around a little bit. Now it's in, spruce log 2, so only 100 needed. And the tree cap has been moved as well to jungle log 7, that's only 5,000 logs. Basically, they're just making it easier to access those recipes. Whatever, not the biggest deal, just a few nice things there. There's also the new armor set. This is themed around the park, so you can get Charlie's trousers, Kelly's t-shirt, Melody's shoes, and Molkin's hat. Nothing too crazy. It does give you some foraging fortune as well as health and defense. Just a pre-Galatea, set. Next up, we have quite a bit regarding Kuudra. The first thing to note here is that they actually provided the new Kuudra loot table, and you can view everything related to it. So you can check all of this out yourself. But to go over the actual stuff related to the update, here are some of the important things to note. The Kraken or Vitality shards are no longer in the Kuudra loot table. Instead, they are guaranteed from every Kuudra run at the following rates. So tier 1 to 2 gives you 1 shard, tier 3 and 4 give you 2, tier 5 gives you 3. Cool. The Tormentor and Hellstorm Wand are new additions to Kuudra's loot table. The Tormentor replaces the Enrager within the loot table, and its drop rate is significantly higher than Enrager's once was, but it should still be rare enough to be exciting when it drops. It has an Infernal Kuudra clear requirement and a combat level of 42, or a requirement of 42. There's a bunch of Kuudra exclusive Demon family shards that have very powerful effects. You can fuse into them with your Kraken shards, or directly get them as a drop from Kuudra. There's a travel scroll to Kuudra's Hollow. Kuudra Mandible now has a salvage value of 500 Crimson Essence, and you also get more Crimson Essence from the free chest in Kuudra. They're also going to be doing a few more changes. Notably, they're going to be adding an upgrade to Molten equipment, as well as reworking the Inferno enchant to increase your damage while in Kuudra's lair and in the Crimson Isles. Pretty good overall. I think people expecting Kuudra to be as good for money as it is right now, that's not going to happen. I don't think that this will make Kuudra completely irrelevant, though. I think that this generally is fine. There's going to be reason to do this, whether that be for the Vitality shards, for the 2 new additions, in terms of the Tormentor and Hellstorm Wand, and for some of the other, Demon family shards, or for the Crimson Essence as well. I think that all of that is fine. Another really big change is that Infernal Kuudra armor had major changes to its essence cost. So a set of 15-star Infernal armor used to cost about 3,700 runs worth of Crimson Essence, which is far more runs than reasonably required. The total Crimson Essence cost is being reduced by approximately 60%. And you can you can see the real changes here. So here are the changes. And as you can see, it's pretty significant. The old price and the new price are very, very different, especially at the higher tiers. I think this is actually fine. My question is, where's the refund? I think that attributes being refunded is one thing. This is something that people should actually get the Crimson Essence back for, like if you leveled up to level 15 star or whatever. I think the best way to do this is just to give you back all of the Crimson Essence from anything beyond 1-star Infernal or beyond just 0-star Infernal, and just let you re-upgrade it yourself. This is a very significant change. I mean, they're very clear about the fact that this is going to drop the amount of runs you need from 3,700 to 1,100. And to put it out there, I don't have any 15-star armor or anything even close to that. I just feel like it would be reasonable to give people back their Crimson Essence here, so at the very least that you could use it on another set if you wanted to. I don't know, I just feel like that's fair. So they also made a bunch of notices here related to Ananke feathers and attribute refunds. This is kind of how they're refunding god rolls. They're compensating those with RNG drops with the Ananke feathers, which is a new RNG drop with approximately the same market values. Basically how this works is that it grants you progress towards your RNG meters, They are designed to hold consistent market value regardless of the item that you claim them from, and only the highest god roll attribute combos receive feather compensation. They're also based on the actual market value of your item, not just the fact that it was a god roll. They also showcased all of this information in another pretty awesome spreadsheet. So you can actually see everything here. I have everything on the right side of the screen, so like you probably can't see super well, but you can access this as well. They've also removed the restriction of god rolls not rewarding attributes when obtained after a certain date. They will now award Ananke feathers just like their older counterparts. I don't love this. Initially, they shut off the ability to get Ananke feathers on the alpha server after a certain date. So I and many other people reported, rightfully, hey, you're not able to get Ananke feathers from god rolls. Now they're walking that back, and now I feel like a jerk for reporting that in the first place. I really would prefer in the future if they were just clear about these things in the first place. This back and forth stuff is never good. It's good that they're clear now, but it would have been better if they were when they initially made the change. They also dropped from Tier 5 Kuudra at a 0.35% drop rate, so it's going to be relatively rare. They basically don't want the market to be super disrupted. The total number of refunded Ananke feathers are also finite, as it's a one-time event, so that makes sense. There's a lot to go over here with attribute shards. They are refunded based on the tier of each attribute, and they've also reduced the conversion rates of attribute shards at earlier tiers to better reflect their value. What this means, TLDR, if you have Kuudra armor and it has Lifeline 1, and you try to convert it to the new system, don't be that surprised if you get 0 Lifeline shards. You may get 1 or you may get 0. Certain items like Rampart, Volcano, Fishing, Vanquished Gear, etc., they now refund attribute shards at half of the normal rate. I've been telling people for weeks, grind out as much as you can in terms of Rampart armor, in terms of the fishing stuff, etc. If you have a lot of double chests of this stuff, you're probably going to be fine. You're still going to probably get a few attributes here or there. It's not going to be as crazy as it once was or once could have been, but it's going to be something. I'm hearing somewhere between 12.5% or, I don't know, 25-ish% for things like Rampart armor giving you the actual attribute. You have 2 chances every single time you refund a piece. That adds up to okay odds if you have a lot of armor, which people like me do. I've been telling people to get this. As part of the cleanup as well, they're also disabling attributes on most non-Kuudra gear until the Foraging update drops. So basically, how this works now is if you go now and you're like, I want Rampart armor, tough luck. You waited too long. It is past the point of no return. A pretty big W that I think a lot of people are going to agree with here is that they're just flat buffing the amount of intel that you're getting on Aurora armor, just period. And it's pretty significant too. Infernal Aurora helmets go from 479 to 693. That is pretty significant. That's like 200 and something mana alone. Non-helmet armor goes from 315 to 441. That's another 130. I think that's pretty good. They also plan to buff the set ability to grant mana for 10 seconds upon ability activation. This is mana, not intelligence. Thus, it only increases your mana pool and not your damage. You can also see the details along with more intel values on this page right here. I actually really appreciate that they're showing all of this off. So, yeah. They also show that you gain 800 mana, which is quite a bit. There's a bunch of other changes here related to some other attributes and balancing. Vitality being nerfed for obvious reasons. It was too strong. However, they're nerfing the tier 4 damage of Inferno Demon Lord by 30% to compensate for the less healing. Fine. Veteran is going to be bumped up to 10 combat wisdom at max. They will also be considering some other XP buffs to give you an alternate, boost to the rates of spawning Slayer bosses. Sure. Speed is a little ridiculous. They basically say, you don't need that much. Tough luck. They might give you more in the future. Mana Steal has been reduced from 20 per hit to 5 per hit. It is still a 5% increase to your mana regen per second, assuming that you regenerate 400 mana a second through passive regen, power orbs, and the Mana Steal enchant. They're also going to be planning a full rework to Magic Find sometime soon, so that's interesting. Basically, the idea here is that they want to move away from temporary or conditional sources of Magic Find into permanent ones. For now, they buffed Magma Lord armor, such that it's not that bad when it comes to sea creatures. Lastly, we have the other section. The bestiaries for the chill and the flare have been both reduced by a factor of 10. Flare is now down to 10k to max, which is pretty interesting. They also rolled a small change that may fix the spawning issue with flares, pretty interesting. The frog pet is now a foraging pet instead of a fishing pet. Blaze Slayer damage will be nerfed by 30% across the board for Tier 4, with a slight damage reduction for Tier 3. They rescaled the number of attributes required to upgrade shards at each tier of rarity as shown here. One last little thread here. It doesn't seem that ridiculous, all things considered. If anything, it looks pretty reasonable. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that bad. It goes from 85, 64, 48, 32, 24 to 96, 64, 48, 32, 24. Just not the biggest difference. It's just more linear now, or more exponential, I guess. I don't know how to really describe it. It's kind of a mix of both, but it is better in my view. All right, thoughts time. I like the non-controversial stuff here. I think that a lot of it is actually pretty good. They wanted to reduce the damage that the Inferno Demon Lord does. Good. They want to buff Aurora. Good. They want to lower the amount of, essence that you need to max out, the Infernal armors. Good. Whatever. Kuudra changes are pretty good. I don't really care about that much. Some of the other stuff here I question a little bit. I think specifically the things that I'm most concerned about are the lack of refunds for players who have 15-star Infernal. If you put that much money and time and effort into this, you should be getting the Crimson Essence back, is my opinion. They might not want to do that. Whatever. I also have some concerns as to how they're going to do the Ananke Feather stuff and the attribute refunds. But I'm also at the point where I just want the update to be out. And if it means that we're going to have to compromise and not everyone is going to get everything that they want, that is okay. As long as they're more clear about the way that they do these things in the future. I think that a lot of people thought that they may have been getting refunded more than they may have thought initially. I thought that they weren't going to get refunded much at all, and this is actually a lot in comparison. It's kind of the difference there. I don't really care that they're making it so, Rampart armor or whatever doesn't give you a ton of shards. I have a lot of double chests at this point with the stuff. I probably shouldn't be refunded at the same rate as somebody who has, pure Kuudra gear. That's reasonable. Regardless, though, I think that this is more net good than bad. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm going to be talking a lot about this over the coming days. Probably will have a stream tomorrow to discuss this more. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. And look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.